Pulverized, and the truth will set you free. Trento Vision is hosted by Tom Trento, an activist street fighter with earned degrees in law enforcement, theology, and philosophy. Listen and watch every weekday at 2 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN and TrentoVision.com. Now, let's take a peek at Tom's view of the world. Here's Tom Trento.
Okay, good afternoon, South Florida and the rest of the world. I feel like I ran out of my house with no pants on or something. Are there people watching? Do we have, you guys are watching, hello, on the television side. It is the top of the hour, 2 o'clock in Boca Raton, Florida, and I guess we should let them in a little bit behind the scenes information. We're operating out of WNN 1470 studios in beautiful, a little cloudy today. Where's my clock? 73 degrees, October 2nd. That goes right there. Rich, you can see that. And typically, we've got a nice studio. It's probably 100 feet by 100 feet, something like Glenn Beck's studio. This one's more like 2 feet by 2 feet, but we love it, Bob. Oh, Bob gave us a prize today, too. Nice gift. One of our friends gave us a Hope and Change book, An American Tragedy. Oh, I got to read that for sure. All the isms, liberalism, socialism, communism, and Obamaism. Hey, that may be a word. We may have something there, Obamaism. In any event, in our beautiful studio, we typically, that lens looks crooked. We typically get in here around noon, do our pre-production work, then sit in our studio around 1 o'clock, do our work, and we're here ready to go at 2 after 2. But on Tuesdays, our good friend Lisa Macy, who you just heard on WNN, she's in here, and she leaves at 2, and we have to be ready to go at 2 after 2 with all our gear. So I feel like I ran out of my house with no pants on, which would not be good. The internet people would love that, I'm sure. But in any event, we got a interesting show today. We have a very good friend of ours here in a minute. I'll introduce our guest, but understand, folks, what we're all about. I'm Tom Trento, your guest on Trento Vision. You've heard of television. This is Trento Vision. We're giving you our view, our little team, our view of the world, and how that impacts your life today and over the next 35 days. Because indeed, the world is going to change 35 days from today. So one of the primary objectives of this show, on the radio side, WNN 1470, and on the video internet TV side, TrentoVision.tv, one of the objectives is to educate the voters out there in Florida primarily, because we are the most significant state and the most significant election of anybody listening or watching in our lifetime, and to educate you primarily on national security issues, constitutional issues, and the issue of Israel, so that you intelligently push the right lever, chop out the Chad, whatever you got to do at your polling station on November 6th, Tuesday. You do the right thing. And the right thing, if you can't figure it out, is to vote against President Barack Obama. He has failed on national security. That's the thesis of our show, and we present evidence each and every day to support the thesis. In fact, next week, we will start a 5-part series on the infiltration of the Muslim Brotherhood into the Obama administration. That's going to be scary stuff, let me tell you. But right now, we will take calls today because we got a great guest, good friend of ours. So if you'd like to speak with us, it's 888. That means it's free for the cheapskates out there. 888-565-1470. The show call numbers are 1470. 888 means it's cheap. All you got to remember is 565. Give me a break. What are you, a independent or undecided voter? With all due respect to my undecided voter friends, are you out of your friggin' minds? How could any sentient person, Mark, do you know what sentient means?
Yes, I do.
Mike, you know what it means? Okay. Mr. Special Guest, you know what it means? No, he doesn't. He's playing with his phone over there. How could any sentient...
I have no idea, and I don't want to know. It's probably something that I wouldn't tell my grandchildren.
How could any sentient human being... I better plug in my... See, I normally plug in my computer, and I forgot to because we were rushing today.
Here, let me get that.
And
Go
it's
ahead.
flashing.
Well, that's
Banged my
okay.
head on television.
That's all right, and he's going to pass out. The host has passed out, so we're going to replace him.
We have a good backup here. We have a professional radio guy. I got a little plug right here. We got a professional radio guy to... Okay, somebody take over. Okay, I'm coming back to life. We have a professional here with us. But how could any sentient human being, at 35 days out, seriously not know who to vote for? And I maintain that undecideds are really people that are either very lazy, intellectually lazy, or simply self-centered. They're trying to see which one of these guys is going to give them the most stuff. You know, like JFK said on January 20th, 1961, ask not what you can do for your country, but ask what your country can do for you. That's what most undecideds are concerned about. What am I going to get? And when you start looking to take from a constitutional republic for folks, that causes the unraveling of the principles of the unity of committed people coming contractually together to accomplish something exceptional, which is exactly what has happened in 236 years. I want to go through this very quickly. I think we're going to do a show on this, but I want to read you something very quickly here at the outset, and understand you can watch on TrentoVision.tv. You can listen on WNN. Go to their website, WNN something or other, whatever it is. You can listen there. Or go to iHeartRadio and WNN, search for that, and you can listen. And this show is repeated 8 o'clock tonight, and you can listen on iHeartRadio anywhere in the world tonight. But you can also go to our archived footage. I invented a new thing. Archived footage, and watch the show and send it to your friends. I want to read you this analysis we did. In terms of winning this election, we, the United West, Tom Trento, our team, we're not that concerned about undecideds because there's a treasure chest of votes, 2 treasure chests of votes that ought to be mined. One of them are you dear folks who claim the term Christian, serious Christians. Listen to this. I'm just going to go through it quickly just to kind of whet, W-H-E-T, whet your appetite. There are 19, according to the 2000 census, right now there's about 19 million people in Florida. 15 million are over 18. We've got a kind of a top-heavy population, which means they're of voting age. 12 million of the 15 million call themselves Christians. 75% of the population of the state of Florida identifies themselves on the 2010 census as Christian. 8 million total votes were cast in 2008. It's 12 million Christians of voting age. 8 total million votes were cast in 2008. In 2008, President Obama received 4.1 million. John McCain received 3.9 million. A variation or differential of 200,000 to be exact, 204,577, 2008. There are a total of 3 million evangelical Christians. So not only I believe in God, but I really believe in God. That's the evangelical. Yet the really believe in God part is 3 million I really believe in God's Christians in the state of Florida. And there are 3 million Catholic Christian voters. So there's Protestant Christians and Catholic Christians. They had a little war a few years ago, a little battle. It's all over with everybody's friends. 3 million Catholics, 3 million evangelicals, conservative Catholics. The number of evangelicals out of 3 million who actually vote in the state of Florida is about 750,000. Let that number sink in, dear Christian friends. 3 million people that are serious Christians, only 750,000 actually find their way to the polling booth on serious elections. The number of evangelicals who do not vote, 2.250 million. 2.25 million Christians in the state of Florida do not vote on election day. About 1 million Catholic Christians do not vote on election day. Sticking that all together, conservative estimate of serious Christians in the state of Florida that do not vote is 3 million. Numbers are right there. We cut that, because sometimes our math is a little fuzzy, we cut that down, we knocked 1 million off, and we knocked another 1 million off, and we said there's at least 1 million Christians that don't vote, and if we can get a couple 100,000 of these folks to turn out, then there's a victory in the state of Florida, which means there's a victory in the United States of America. So something to think about. We're going to go into this in detail in the shows ahead as we analyze the winning plan. Part of the winning plan in the state of Florida here on WNN 1470 Trento Vision with our team is to participate. We've launched a intensive internet media blitz. We are going to do our radio show every day, which is The Anchor, and we want you to tell your friends, call up, all of that. That's the Anchor piece of media to educate voters in the state of Florida and hopefully some other little states out there. We're also going to crank up our video production. As you know, we create unique video pieces, and they get a lot of hits. A lot of people watch them. The one we did about Christians being stoned in Dearborn just went over the 1 million mark. We had 1 million people watch one of the videos that we have produced and distributed and marketed and all of that stuff. The video we did last week, one of them at the Muslim parade in New York City, is over 100,000 in 3 or 4 days. So we're going to have 2 levels of video production. Much of our footage you haven't seen, we're going to start pumping out, and we're going to pump out new information. All of it is going to be an expose and an investigative look into the Obama administration on foreign policy, on national security, and on the relationship to Israel, to show the absolute abject failure of this administration, notwithstanding, I killed Osama, so hey, vote for me. Okay? We've got to go a little further than that. We're also going to add to our media blitz on the internet. We're going to add a weekly television special, internet television special. We will have shows like Losing Our Sons, done by our good friend Charles Jacobs up in Boston, about the 2 fathers. One son converted from Christianity to Islam, became a jihadi, studied in Yemen, came back and went to a recruiting station and killed a young soldier who was helping recruit soldiers. And these 2 fathers now have joined in a pact to fight the jihad. Great movie, Losing Our Sons. We're going to feature that in the week of October 15th. So we're going to have these evening specials where we'll bring in experts and show critical information essential for intelligent voting on November 6th. So folks, we need some coin, some shkarol if you're Italian and from New Jersey. We need some scratch to make all of this happen. So if any of you with trust funds are sitting out there, call Tom Trento. I'll give you, just write us a little note, and you can help us fund the revolution. Okay, it's a cultural revolution designed to stop the, as I said yesterday, the chief, not executive officer. Mitt Romney is an executive, a chief executive. Barack Obama is an ideologue. It's a chief ideological office. He's become the chief ideologue officer, implementing a socialist ideology as opposed to administering as a chief executive officer the function of running a successful country. And to discuss this stuff today, we have a wonderful guest with us. He drove all the way over for the show, didn't you, Dr. Richard Swire? You drove all the way just to see us, didn't you?
Absolutely. I would not have missed this for the world. We drove all the way over in the middle of the night just to be here with you this afternoon, and braved all the storms coming across the center of Florida.
Did you get hit with the rain?
Absolutely.
Oh.
It was fun. It was good. Clean washes the car. What the heck?
It does do that.
But I'm really proud. I'm honored that you have me on your show, and I wanted to say that we at Watchdog Wire have been posting your videos, and they're fantastic videos, and the commentary we added to it. And I want to congratulate you on the over 1 million hits on the video you did. By the way, we put it up on Watchdog Wire when you first released it, and most recently the Avila video, which
Senator Avila,
Senator Avila, who went on the Blaze. We blasted it out to all the people we know. We want to congratulate you on having that video unedited.
Yes.
The full Monty. Right there on the Blaze, Trento Vision, and United West. So that's a huge. You have become a serious a news outlet for this particular topic area. So I want to congratulate you on that.
Well, it's I do everything.
I know.
I study this stuff. I do it. I run the cameras. I edit this stuff. I do everything. Everybody else is just window dressing around here.
Well, I mean, the guys over here and
yeah.
CJ sitting in the booth like they're what are they, spaghetti or something? Or
look,
chopped meat, or what is this?
Let's let everybody know.
All right.
The limo, I arrive at the show 10 minutes before 2 in the limo, drops me off, and I come in, I do this, and I don't even want them touching me when I leave. I know. Let the staff
I noticed
touch
the
me.
makeup person was very nice to me. They said, we don't have time for you. We have to spend too much time with Tom
The
to make him look
staff
good on
is
television.
not allowed to touch me. In fact, right now we have a 1 foot perimeter where they can't get closer than 1 foot.
Yeah.
I may broaden that to 2 or 3
Well, you know what?
feet.
You need to take
In fact,
that.
you're a little close
You need to
right
take
now.
that to Foggy Bottom and put that zone around some of our embassies in the Middle East.
You're a little close to me right now. I think you can step
I'm going to back up here. I'm going to move
Yes.
the mic back, but they tell me you got to be in the camera. So
The creativity gets suppressed when people are too close.
I know. But you are you are at the level of James O'Keefe, who has been releasing some very interesting videos about a number of topics. Everything from Acorn, but you have literally changed the dialogue. You have changed the narrative, and I think that's what you do is so important for America and for your listeners, and that's why Watchdog Wire is so appreciative that you provide us.
How many times are you going to say Watchdog Wire? You know?
1,000.
A thousand
Go to
times.
watchdogwire.com, watchdogwire.com, watchdogwire.com.
Let's at least tell the people a little bit about you. And
All right.
let me start. Okay, you guys have to understand that Rich is not only our dear friend, but this is Rich Swire from formerly from the Dr. Rich
Yes.
Show. You had about a year stage.
A year. I turned the red, white, and blue microphone over to my cohort, my former co-host, Johnny Jackson. Johnny was a co-host. You co-hosted the show
Yes,
for,
I did.
for
Yes.
3 or 4 months, and you got the bug, and now you have your own radio show. See, I have created 2 monsters. Johnny Jackson, and who's broadcasting to Tampa, and then you, who broadcast into
Miami to Fort Pierce, man.
Miami
We're
to
rocking and rolling.
that's right. You're rocking and rolling. So I've created 2 monsters. So this is fantastic.
And your background, I should tell the folks that we met 5 years ago or so. Interesting way we met. You were the Duke back then,
I still am.
blogging,
Yes.
and you have a couple of careers. You spent 24 years.
23 years in the Army.
in
Yep.
the Army, Lieutenant Colonel. Then you got out and did your doctorate at USC, University of Southern California, where you were classmates with the Egyptian president, Mohammed Morsi.
Yeah, Morsi
Right.
and I may have been there at the same time. I have not gone back and checked that, but it
When
could
did you
very well-
graduate from there?
I actually graduated and got my doctorate in 1990.
Oh. He was before you.
Yeah,
so
he was before me. But I was going through to USC from 1985 to 1990.
Oh, he left in '82.
Okay, well then,
You
so I
guys
missed
missed each
him. I
other.
missed the jihadist
You probably stuck
USC
in
grad.
Durham then. You probably
Yeah,
stuck in
yeah. I
Durham.
mean, I probably ran into one of his friends in Germany trying to blow me up in the
Sure.
1970s.
Well, in the '70s, Rich was stationed right outside of Munich during the '72 Olympics. and
Absolutely.
His team was called in after that horrific attack by the Black September. Were they the PLO then? What was the name of
No,
the?
they were Black September. They were part of Fatah.
Fatah, okay.
And the PLO had not actually been formed yet, but they were part of Yasser Arafat's movement. And at that point, they decided at a bistro in Italy to kill a bunch of Jewish athletes, innocent Jewish athletes, in the name of Allah. And we see that happening day in and day out. And so any dialogue that tells me that it's religion of peace, I always have a very difficult time with that narrative, because I don't look at what people say, I look at what they do. And what they do is horrific. And what we saw happen to our ambassador to Libya and the three other men who were executed, if you will, murdered in Libya is something that needs to be addressed. And apparently, as all administrations do, they try and cover it up, but it's slowly and actually rapidly unraveling.
Rapidly unraveling.
unraveling. And by the way, the final. But you're going to be. We have asked you to be part of a great panel of experts on national security and foreign policy to cover the last debate, October the 22nd. So we'll hopefully be getting some information out about that, and we're very pleased that Tom is going to do that, and he's going to bring some of his friends on board, and we're going to have Gary Bernson, a former CIA
Well,
guy.
hang on. I want to build up to that.
All right, build
get there.
up.
All right, so you did the Army thing, which was great. You were involved in counterterrorism work. Then you did your doctorate. Then you kind of sort of retired to this south center. What it was, Sarasota. South.
Well,
Central?
that's it. We call it the Sun Coast or
Sun
whatever
Coast.
you call it. But
Retired
my
over
son
there.
came home after graduating from the University of Florida and said, "Dad, we need to start an internet site." And I said, "Okay," and ended up doing that. We created the 7-city site on the internet called Sarasota Online. We were right after Paris, France. And eventually sold it to a company called Comcast. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that company, but it's a little cable company owned by the Roberts family. And we ended up, by the way, it was an interesting story there, because have you ever had that experience where somebody comes up to you and says, "How much do you want for your company?" So you struggle.
I have not had that experience.
Okay, well, I
yet.
actually had Roger Keating, who was the regional vice president for Comcast, came to me, and he said, after we gave him the pitch, he said, "How much do you want for your company?" And so I said, "Well, let me get back to you tomorrow." And he said, "Okay." So my son and I and one of our other friends, Steve Sigourney, who was our third partner, sat down around my kitchen table and we wrote a 7-figure number down. We said, "This is outrageous. He's never going to take it." So we wrote a 7-figure number down. Plus, we were all three going to be employed as managers, have medical benefits, Class A stock, and all that kind of stuff. So I walk in there with a piece of paper with a 7-figure number on it, folded. I handed it to him. He opened it up and he said, "Okay." At that moment, I know we left money on the table.
Oh my God! You're not
He
kidding.
didn't even hiccup. He looked at the number and said, "Okay." He put the paper down. Said, "When can you guys come to work?" And I knew we had left money on the table when I said that. We should have made that 12 figures or something and negotiated it down, But that's the way it is.
That's the way it is.
But that's the way it is. And then, of course, my son said, after he decided to go on and do other great things, and I left Comcast. I worked for Comcast for about 3 years. Had a great time there. Loved the people. They're great people.
What you should have said when he took it and said, "Okay," go, "He believes that number."
You really
The guy
believe that
believes
number?
that. Give me the real number. So that's something in your pocket. I just learned something
If
there.
you would have been in the room negotiating with me, we would have worked
Oh,
that.
you
but-
believe that?
You can't believe you really believe that? That's a joke. That was low ball. But anyway,
So you worked for 3 years.
Three
and then,
3 years for Comcast. I had a great time there. Learned a lot about the media business from a cable perspective. Learned a lot about television, cable television particularly. And then afterwards, when I left, after my son left, I left. He started his own company, and he does great work. He has something called The Hub in Sarasota. and he does great things. He manages creative people, much like you guys do. We have great creative people like your son Michael and CJ and Mark and Alan and those people. So creative people really are the name of the game. They create content, and you can make money off of that content. So. And then
We haven't
I
figured
met
out the
you.
making
I made
money.
the biggest mistake in my life. I met Tom Trento. And my life was never the same. It was like injecting pure cocaine into the veins or sniffing it. And I have not been able to break a dearest friendship. I haven't had a friendship like this since the people I was with in
The
combat.
Vietnam days.
With Vietnam days. When he who sheds his blood with me is my brother, and Tom, you are my brother, and
Well, I'm really sorry to hear that.
oh
The
yeah,
feeling is
and,
mutual.
yeah, but
We've been in a lot of battles the past
we
5
have
or 6
been
years.
we have been to
Yes.
a lot of battles, but you know what? They've been worth it, and it's worth it for our children and our grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
You know that better than anybody. And the fight we're fighting right now is.
Well,
one-
let me ask you that.
Yeah.
You've got military experience, you've got educational experience, real world experience.
Yes, world travel.
Rear
yeah.
experience.
Yeah, been on 4 different continents. Yeah, served on 4 different continents. yeah.
How important, and we have a significant radio audience, and a lot of people listen to us and all of that. How important is this election in 35 days?
Well, let me just say this. This administration and Congress in general have failed our military, failed our veterans. I am very, as a veteran, we have 21 military bases in the state of Florida.
21.
1 military bases in the state of Florida. Some of them are very significant. For example, Central Command in Tampa, which is just about 59 miles north of me. Of course, we have a major naval base in Jacksonville, which handles many of our aircraft carriers. And we're going to see in the state of Florida, starting on January the 1st, we're going to lose over 79,400 jobs.
Is this sequestration?
These are, well, I don't want to use the word sequestration.
What does that word
Those
mean?
are job cuts. That's sequestration means that mandated cuts. In other words, Congress could not do its job of creating a budget and balancing it, so it decided that when the super committee, which was illegal, met and failed, which I expected it
And
to
we all
fail.
know that, yeah.
Who's going to come to agreement? It's like everybody wants to cut the budget. It's like everybody wants to go to heaven, but they don't want to do what it takes to get there. Okay. So what happens? It fails. So automatic cuts, automatic firing.
So sequestration means
the pink slips. By the way, the president doesn't want those 79,000 pink slips to go out in the state of Florida. He is pushing hard to get defense industry not to send out the pink slips. Some of them are saying, I don't care, we're going to send them out anyway. So we're going to have over 79,400 pink slips going out in the state of Florida. That's known. It could be more than that, depending on the issue. And we're finding that crazy things. I mean, there's an amendment on the Florida ballot called Amendment 2, which allows veterans to get benefits who entered the service in other states but live here in Florida to get the benefits, the reduced cost to get into a park or fishing license.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, and the Sarasota County Democratic Party has come out against that. Now, you figure that one out. The League of Women Voters have come out against that. They're anti-veteran. I don't get it now. Okay, now the League of Women, I will say that the League of Women Voters is against all 11 amendments. That's another issue. But that when you go against veterans, that raises the.
I think we have a veteran raising his hand over
here. You got a
here.
veteran over here.
There's one other, and you repeat this, is...
You can speak loud enough, he can hear you.
There's going to be a 20% tax hike January 1.
Oh yeah, there's going to be tax
for
hike.
the military
Well,
people.
What some people don't know is there are over 1 million seniors in the state of Florida who have a Medicare Advantage. That program is going to be dramatically cut the day after the election. He has pushed it off. This administration has pushed off those cuts. So if you're a senior out there with Medicare Advantage,
Now, what is Medicare Advantage?
Medicare Advantages means that they have, through a private insurance company at either an HMO or PPO, additional coverage that covers the difference between what Medicare covers and what they want. So it's sort of a higher level of coverage that the person pays for.
Okay.
Okay. Now the government subsidizes that. Well, guess what? That's going away. That's going to be reduced dramatically starting January the 1st. Well, actually,
And why?
November the 7th.
Why is it being
20? Why is because he's going to use it to pay. The way the Affordable Health Care Act, Obamacare, was written, he has to
Hey,
pay
you can't
for
bang
it.
on the table,
He has
'cause
to
I'm-
pay for it.
I'm hearing instructors.
He has to pay for it. So how is he going to pay for it? On the backs of people who have Medicare Advantage.
And also the Bush-era tax cuts are.
And the Bush-era tax cuts are come to expire. So all of this is called the fiscal cliff, and it's all going to hit seniors, college students, families with children, single-parent families, the poor, the rich,
Military.
the middle, the upper, the lower, whatever, the 1%, the 99%, they're all going to feel it, and it's going to hurt like heck. And and we may have riots in the street like Greece. Who knows?
All right, hang on one second. Let me get our audience up to date here. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening. If you're just driving in your automobile or tuning in on your computers, you're listening and watching Trento Vision. Tom Trento here with my good friend and our special guest today, Dr. Richard Swire out of Sarasota. We're going to hear about Watchdog Wire in a minute, but it's the bottom of the hour. WNN 1470 Boca Raton. You can listen on your radios. You can go to iHeartRadio. We're really pushing this, Rich. It's very cool, iHeartRadio. Little app on your smartphones, and then you find WNN, and then we rebroadcast at 8 o'clock at night. Anywhere in the world, wherever you have a phone signal, you get the digital audio of this show, and it's absolutely crystal clear, beautiful stuff. And you need your shot of Trento Vision every day because we're dealing with serious stuff. And then you can watch these shows. They're archived on TrentoVision.tv. And it's a little confusing, but if you can't find today's show and you're on the site, you got bigger problems than finding the show, okay? We're going to clean up the webpage in the near future. But we have Dr. Rich Swire with us. He's a veteran. And, Rich, let me tell you this. As I said at the top of the show, there's two gigantic electoral treasure chests floating around in Florida. One of them is 1 million serious Christians who do not vote. Mm-hmm. I want you to comment on that secondly. But the other treasure chest is 1.6 million veterans. California has 35 million people. They got 2 million veterans. Texas, 25 million people, 1.6 million veterans. Florida, 19 million, 1.6. We have the most veterans, particularly for a swing state. 2008, 700,000 of your brothers and sisters who took the oath and put the uniform on voted for President Obama. Help our audience understand what was going through their mind in 2008, and then please speak to them to change their mind in 2012, okay?
Well, I think that since 2008, we've seen this president's record on national security, and I think we've also seen his record on the VA. We have millions, literally. There was just an article on Drudge about our young men and women coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. There's a huge backlog on getting them their earned benefits and getting them the kinds of services they need. We're seeing more veterans. We're seeing more young soldiers commit suicide. We're seeing rules of engagement that keep our soldiers from putting rounds in their weapons. I was just happened to be in Nashville for the 70th anniversary of the 101st Airborne Division founding, and I talked to a young artillery major. He said every time he fires in Afghanistan, he's investigated. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not the way you fight a war. If you're going to fight a war, you close with and kill the enemy. This president doesn't believe we should close with and kill the enemy. He believes that we should embrace them and embrace their belief system and protect them and give them more protections, by the way, than we do our own soldiers. Actually, when fired upon, our soldiers currently in Afghanistan, if it's in a village, they cannot fire back. And if the enemy drops their weapons after shooting at our own men and women, and perhaps killing one or two, or we actually went over the number of 2,000 dead in Afghanistan, which is a horrible milestone that nobody seems to care about. But what we're seeing is part and parcel of that is this whole concept of setting a date certain that you're going to leave, and once you set a date certain you're going to leave, the enemy knows you're going to leave, and so they become much more aggressive. They begin to kill you. They start shedding more of your blood, and there's going to be huge dancing in the street. They're going to be handing out candy, and if there's any of our soldiers that are left there on the last minute, they may be like we saw in Vietnam when they were pulling the helicopter off the embassy, and then people are trying to jump on to get out of the country. We may see another reenactment of that in Kabul or one of the air bases or even our own embassy in Afghanistan. And I fear for that. And I think there's a lot of Vietnam veterans out there, and they don't want to see this. These young men and women are coming back hurt, and they're not being taken care of. They're coming back with wondering why in the heck are they there in the first place if they're not allowed to do their job, that is, close with and kill the enemy. So, I mean, if you're going to rate a president on his policies, as a veteran, I would not vote in favor of this gentleman because his policies are killing our soldiers and not doing any good for this nation and our national security either. And it's also making the world a much more dangerous place, particularly for us Americans. Wherever you go now, you need to be looking over your shoulder, and that's always a bad situation.
All right, that was a very good, succinct analysis of the situation. Let's be charitable for a moment here. It's Election Day 2008, and 700,000 veterans are going to actually vote against John McCain, who is a Vietnam hero, and vote for President Obama. I've often sat to try to figure out what was going through their head. What were the dynamics, the psychological or political dynamics that made them say, okay, I'm going to vote for this guy instead of a guy who has proven himself as particularly with all the unknowns about President Barack Obama's background at that point, and the amazing capabilities of McCain. Why did they vote for Obama instead of McCain in 2008?
Well, I think they fell for what the American people fell for. They fell for a false narrative. They fell for this concept of somehow we're going to change the dynamic in the Middle East in the favor of America. And of course, when you're beat up for 2 or 3 or 4 years by the media, and as Bush was, beat up every day. I mean, every day I remember the New York Times would run the body count right above the fold on the headline. What was the body count in Iraq? What was the body count in Afghanistan? And you don't see that anymore. And I think that
that's right. I remember that.
You do not see that, and the reason you don't see that is because the narrative has changed. And who changes the narrative? The mainstream media. That's why we have WatchdogWire.com. It is a perfect
20
segue.
minutes without
WatchdogWire.com. It is a perfect segue because who's going to fill the void? Who's going to tell the truth? But citizen journalists. What's happened?
What is Watchdog Wire?
Okay, WatchdogWire.com is a website that is designed and built by and maintained by a group called the Franklin Center for Government and Public Integrity, something that's lacking right now, and it was designed to fill the void because what we saw as papers began to shrink, as television stations, radio stations began to lose ad revenue, that the first casualties of cutbacks were in the newsroom, particularly investigative journalists. Those journalists, we actually saw Pulitzer Prize-winning journalists fired. And so Watchdog Wire was created to fill that void with citizens who know about a topic or passionate about a topic, who are willing to go out there and tell the story and break the narrative. The mainstream media narrative right now is to do everything it can to not tell the truth. So what do? We have to put citizens in charge, just as we did when our founding fathers came. I mean, when Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense, he was a citizen journalist. That's what he did. And that was the most, by that still, as a percentage of of population reached by his pamphlet, that was still number one, other than maybe the Bible.
Yeah, your organization and ours actually have more journalists on the ground than
Absolutely. When you have real journalists on the ground, people who are actually looking and asking the hard questions, like Tom Trento and the J. Mark Campbells of the world and the Alan Cormans and those folks. When you have them actually going out and asking the hard questions, and then actually getting answers to those hard questions and putting them out there, you find that the 1 million people will watch your video. I mean, that's what it's all about. And that's what's important, and that's what and by the way, this is not going away on midnight November 6th. This is going to be on forever and ever, because whoever gets elected, we still have to hold them accountable to the people, and that's what Watchdog Wire is all about. So it's a fun thing. We're going to have an event tonight, by the way, in North Palm Beach County. We're just finishing up a 5-day tour of Florida. We had events in Daytona, the Villages, Tampa, last night in Fort Myers, and today in North Palm Beach. And if you want to go to watchdogwire.com or the franklincenterhq.org, you can sign up for the event tonight. Starts at 6.
6 o'clock in Palm Beach Gardens, right?
It's Palm Beach Gardens. It's the Marriott. The Marriott in North Palm Beach. I don't have the address right now, but
It's north of Boca Raton. We're on the we're on the south end. You're up there.
But the point is that we need people like you, Tom, who has really done a fantastic job of capturing the moment, many moments. And then what our job is at Watchdog Wire is to take what you've done, the great work you do, and push it out. And that's why, you're on the Blaze. That's why stories that we've done are, on Make Drudge Report.
One team, one fight. We got a great team. One team, one fight. I got a couple of questions for you. I want to talk about, CJ just handed me a note on several subjects. We might have to have you back. The military absentee ballot situation is really
horrible.
Very
it's
bad.
Horrible.
Number one. The resignation of the top human resources officers at the VA. Their conference is for $6 million.
Their conference in $6 million in Orlando.
And was that Orlando? I didn't know that. But
yes,
hang on.
It was in Orlando.
And military people. I have been blocked, me personally, out of 2 events where I've been invited to be the keynote speaker at a pro-military event honoring our veterans and our active duty people. And both times, one was at the RNC, Republican National Convention, and one was another event in Central Florida. When the guys in uniform found out I was the speaker, they were told by their superiors they cannot appear with me, Tom Trento, on the stage because I may say something that's perceived as being anti-Islam, right?
Yeah.
But let me read something to. I got a quiz for everybody here, okay? Our good friend Bob, who may work at this facility here, gave us this little book a little while ago, and I'm going to ask you. I'm going to read a quote, and I want you guys to tell me who said it. I'll give you three names, and then you tell me who said it. America is like a healthy body, and its resistance is threefold. Don't say that yet. Don't say
it's patriotism, it's religion, and it's morality.
If we can undermine these 3 areas, America will collapse from within. I'm going to give you 3 names. Ronald Reagan.
Oh, gee. Mickey Mouse.
No.
Mickey Mouse, or...
No, when it was George Washington.
No.
Or...
It was George Washington.
No, it wasn't George Washington.
Joseph Stalin.
Oh, Joseph Stalin, no.
Okay.
And it reads like, by the way, it reads very much like, that actually reads almost exactly like The Project, which is the document that was found at the Muslim Brotherhood. We will make them collapse from within by their own hand. That's exactly
But watch this. Watch this. This is a beautiful book, by the way. Thanks, Bob. Here's the picture. We got the hammer and the sickle and Joseph Stalin and all of that.
Yeah.
America is like, he's stating what needs to be done to cause it to collapse. We'll state it in the positive. America is healthy because of its patriotism, morality, and spiritual life. And we've seen that historically. Along comes this president, and patriotism is just being devastated, as we know.
Absolutely.
Morality, you look at some of his social policies, they're devastating to what has been perceived as Christian, Judeo-Christian morality.
Yeah, attack on the family, attack on religion, attack on freedom of speech. All those things are very critical. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now
So-
I'd like to do this because you said earlier the Fourth Estate is covering for President Obama in many respects, and we know that. And particularly in the area, you guys have probably seen these polls that are out that President Obama's ahead by 20 points, 10 points, all of that stuff. I'm going to take a poll. We're going to run our own poll in here.
No, I did
okay?
a poll. I did a poll.
I'm doing one right now.
No, I did one.
I'm doing one right
no,
now.
I did one.
Are you?
Well, you go ahead and do
Hold
yours. I'll
yours.
tell you mine.
I'm going to take a poll in here. Just by a raise of hands. There's like 5 people here. All the people that are going to be voting for President Obama, raise your hand.
5 hands. Okay. Who's
Okay.
voting for Mitt
All
Romney?
the people that are going to be voting for the Republican opponent, Mitt Romney, raise your hand.
Okay.
What about you?
He doesn't vote.
No, he's 5. I'm counting him.
Okay.
5 people in the room, 5 voted.
Oh, no,
So
see, that's
the
a false poll.
The Trento Vision poll.
They work for you.
100%.
They work for you. so I can-
100% of the people polled are voting for Obama.
I understand that. I got a different poll.
Wait a minute. So, ladies and gentlemen, 100% of the people polled in this poll in Florida are voting for Mitt Romney. Obama's trailing. I mean, now, all you have to do is get that out to a couple of little news sources. 100% of the people polled are voting for. Well, it's a poll I took, and that's how ridiculous
That's how
this other
ridiculous it
polls
is.
are. Let's
yeah.
hear about your poll.
Well,
then.
no, I mean, I did this the other night at one of our events. I said, you know what? I drove from Sarasota to Daytona. That's called the I-4 corridor.
Right.
Everybody focuses on the I-4 corridor as critical in the vote in November 6, 2012 in Florida. So I decided, you know what I'm going to do? When I left,
Don't bang my table.
when I left, I decided I was going to count how many Obama 2012 bumper stickers I saw and how many Romney
That's a good poll.
bumper
Yeah, that's
stickers I
interesting.
saw driving from Sarasota, Florida, to up 75 to I-4, all the way across I-4 to Daytona, and pulling into the hotel in Daytona Beach. And guess what my poll found? I saw 1 Obama 2012 sticker and 9 Romney Ryan stickers. Now, that's the poll. He's leading 9-1. Now, what's the rationale behind my poll? Somebody who is passionate enough and puts a sticker on their bumper and maybe ruin their paint job is serious. They're really going to vote for that guy. Okay?
That's a motivated vote.
So that's a motivated
pretty good.
voter. Now, is that a valid poll? It's as valid as anything that I see
I'm
in the
with you.
Washington Post or CNN or Fox. It's the same. Look, it's perception, and what they're doing is they're pushing perception. As a matter of fact, I thought there was a column, and maybe CJ can look for it, but there was a column out today about one of the I guess one of the Gore's people, or it's not Gore, Kerry's people said that's what they use the poll for propaganda. That's what polls are. They're propaganda.
And look at Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a prime example.
Yeah, prime example is Wisconsin. They said that he's going to lose. History tells you he's going to lose. The polls tell you he's going to lose, and he wins by a bigger majority than he actually was elected with.
Well, that's why here in Florida with
And who was on the ground? Watchdog Wire.
All right,
Watchdog Wire was
all right.
on the ground in Wisconsin doing the job. But
You do have a cool logo, I got to admit.
you got it. It is a cool little logo.
The work, the tremendous amount of work that's going on. John Stemberger,
Yes.
Scott Spages down in Broward, also in Broward, Jack Gillis. These guys are running call centers. There's about 18 of them around the state, organizing calls every night, identifying people of faith, this group. They're not appearing in polls because they're not even on anybody's list,
No,
right?
they're not on the list because
So-
they weren't in the last election. And
And you're going to see a tremendous turnout in this state, and we're going to win. I predict that we will win. We being the the Mitt Romney will be elected, will win the state of Florida. Will
Yeah.
he win the whole country? I believe so, but I know we'll win the state of Florida.
Yeah. I talked to someone who does who reaches out to the veterans community, does calls to the veterans community, and they do on average 10,000 calls an hour from their call centers. On an average day, they do 50,000 outreaches.
Wow.
And this group, I talked to one of their senior leaders, and they said, "Oh yeah, it's in the bag. Veterans are going to vote for Romney." And
we got to get some of them.
Now,
700,000
I don't know
to
that
come
it's
over.
in the bag, but
Right.
but from what they're polling,
Oh, well, let me ask you this.
Yeah,
Because we're running out of time here, and I want you to comment on the active guys not having an opportunity to vote. What is the deal with that? The absentee ballots.
We have found historically that there are some. Well, first of all, the Defense Department has a responsibility to ensure that our soldiers serving overseas receive the ballot in a timely manner, the absentee ballot, and that once it's received, that they've given every opportunity to get back so that it's counted. Sadly, they're supposed to set up voter assistance offices at every post, and both within the United States and overseas, to make sure that happens. They have failed miserably. If you go to a website called ConcernedVeteransForAmerica.org, you will see the testimony that was just done last week in Congress showing how dismal this administration and Leon Panetta and the Defense Department effort is. It's anemic. So literally our soldiers are being disenfranchised. Now, I can't say the same thing for Florida, because Florida has a law that says that that requires they have a 45-day rule, which studies say you've got to get the ballot out to the soldier 45 days plus, and at least 45 days in advance. Florida passed a law a number of years ago that says they will do that. You must mail them. All supervisors,
wherever they are on the face of the earth.
But the problem isn't mailing them. The problem is they're not registering. They're not asking for the ballot. I think it's 10% or something like that.
10% was the number,
in some states it's horrible, like New York.
Well, what do you mean? What,
They are not getting.
Who's
they're
they?
not. Our active duty military, or for some reason, are not requesting the ballot. That's a problem. They're not submitting a request to vote, and that is problematic. So if you go to ConcernedVeteransForAmerica.org, you will see the testimony and the comments about that. It's a bad situation, and we're essentially disenfranchising our military.
we have about a minute left for you.
Okay.
What are your thoughts? What do you want to? What's your call to action for our wonderful South Florida and our worldwide internet viewers and watchers and listeners?
Well, I think that no matter what happens on November 6th, I think the citizens have got to take back control, and they've got to be the ones who are the true voices of America. And we provide that, and you're a perfect example. You're a shining example of that, Tom, and they should emulate what you do.
Certainly, if they want to be on the brink of bankruptcy, they should. That's for
Well,
sure.
that's my wife says there's two things that she said. The upside is you get national recognition. The downside is your family suffers. And
Yeah, and you make a lot of wonderful friends out there that would like to see you strung out behind a vehicle. Being
you
dragged
become
on the ground.
famous or infamous.
But we kick back. We
Yeah.
kick back in our cultural battle here.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Rich Swire, thank you very much for here. I'll stick my hand through all this stuff.
No, I'm not
Oh, there
going
we
to
go.
give you
you
the
touched
bump.
me. He touched me.
I touched you. I'm going to give you the double
Well,
bump.
what we do need you to do is one more time. Why don't you give your website to the
Watchdogwire.com, and actually /Florida. We have the Florida site, which is the most dynamic and the most watched and read. And we've had
All
some
right.
great stuff.
All right. Don't go all over the place. Can you sing the jingle, the Watchdog jingle?
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
You're killing the engineer back there. And everybody listening. But that's pretty good. That would be a good little... Hey, guys, Tom Trento here, Trento Vision, with our good friend Dr. Rich Swire, he will be up in North Palm Beach. If you want to contact him, yesterday we had folks that wanted to contact Jeff Weisenfeld and contacted me, and I got them in touch with them. Tom at TrentoVision.tv, send us a note, and we will get it to Rich Swire. Let's just do it that way. And tomorrow we have a fascinating show for you. What is it? I'm not going to tell you. Why? Because we haven't figured it out yet. We have so much stuff going on. But Thursday at 10 o'clock, we will try to live stream. We say try because the demons out there may be against us. Alan West's debate against Patrick Murphy in Fort Pierce, 10 to noon Thursday morning. We will be there. We'll probably do the show from Fort Pierce. But signing off today, October 2, 2012, 35 days, ladies and gentlemen, to determine which direction Western civilization goes. Stay tuned to Trento Vision, Tom Trento and the team. We'll see you tomorrow. We're still on the internet. We're still everywhere. Good stuff, man.
Hey, what a good
That was
job.
fun, yeah.
Good job.
Thanks for tuning in to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free.